From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be one of the hosts for this episode, and my name is not Vicky. Who else is hosting?
I'm Vicky.
No, you're not Bill.
I'm just, I'm here for the show.
Okay, so am I. Anyway,
Okay.
Miss Vicky, we have a guest.
Yes. Yep.
We have a guest. My biggest fear about this episode, you know what my biggest fear about this episode is?
What is it?
How much it's going to cost me after this episode for you upgrading your gear.
Well, we shall see.
That's not the
I
answer
have
I wanted.
some pretty good stuff.
It's after Christmas. You're scaring me now.
I have good stuff already.
All right,
So
all right, very well.
I think we're good.
Well, we have talked to this gentleman many times at the track, and we finally put it together scheduling wise. And most of the time we see him with our NASA Northeast friends and family when we're at some of our New Jersey tracks, or pretty much, I think we've seen him at a couple of NASA Northeast tracks. And he is WindShadow Studio, and most people, like his mom, would call him Mike Woeller. Welcome to the podcast, Mike.
Glad to be here. I do have to do one thing for all my friends that race with me on Forza.
Huh?
WindShadow.
Oh, very well. That's
How
awesome.
did you come up with the name WindShadow?
He was playing.
Believe it
Forza.
or not, well, no, it goes far back. Back in school, college, etc. I was one of the biggest geeks in class, and I did the whole Dungeons and Dragons thing, and that was a character name, and it stuck.
I somehow knew that.
You would be the second person that actually guessed that.
So if that was it, this podcast would start something like, "Welcome to the Garage Heroes in Training Podcast. I'm going to be your host for this episode. My name is Shadow Lord."
So, did you play an elf?
No, I was a wizard.
Oh, okay.
I was a human wizard.
Okay.
And now he's a wizard of photography. See what I did there?
I have the mutant superpower of altering time and space.
Oh, there you go.
Okay. Well, as we can tell, we've done a lot of podcasts. My intros just aren't getting any better. So if you were to introduce yourself, what should I have said?
I think you did it fine. I'm Mike. Then I am the photographer for WindShadow Studios.
Okay. Very well. So we're not only going to talk photography, we're going to talk a little bit about your driving and how you're progressing and what your goals might be. So what are you currently driving on track, and where are you at in your progression?
So I've spent a lot of time driving other people's cars. And 2 years ago, I finally acquired a car to turn into a street car / track car. I have a 99 Miata that I've been working on.
We know a little bit about those.
Yes. I think it's the same color as the one you drive.
Silver one?
No, I thought you guys had the red one.
We do.
No.
Yeah, that's a 2019 now. The 99 is a silver one.
Yeah, no.
Vicky had two. Vicky's
Nice.
got two silver ones. Same year, though. Miss Vicky,
Oh, yeah.
you coming?
I am. I'm sorry. I'm a little further down. I'm further down on a.
Pretend we're doing an introduction.
I know it's a day. It's been a day. So we'll edit that out. So
Always.
anyway, how did you get involved with racing?
So the racing came after the photography. I've always loved watching racing on TV. It was like childhood with dad watching the Indy 500 and sprint car, midgets and dirt racing on Saturday nights on ESPN, and living where I am here in South Jersey in 2008. They opened NJMP, and I just was like, I have to go see a real racetrack for once. And we went out for the Shelby Club, and we get out there, and there are Ford GTs and GT40s and Mustangs and Cobras everywhere, and I was like, oh. And up until that point, I didn't realize that just regular people could get on track. And as we walked around, I'm looking like, these are street cars. This is a regular Mustang that just came off the lot, and he's out there on the racetrack. So through connections of people we knew, I became a volunteer photographer at the racetrack. And then it kind of progressed from there. I started meeting people and learning about DE and club racing. And that was in 2009, 10, 11, 12. And it just snowballed from there. It has gotten to the point where now I do get to enjoy a little bit of track time. And on top of the photography, usually not in the same weekend. So I'm still very green. I've done maybe 2 full track days and a bunch of sessions here and there. So I'm like just getting back into DE1.
Nice.
Ooh.
So you have the potential to get stuck with me as an instructor.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I really feel sorry for you. I definitely owe you money now. Okay.
So where do you see this going? Do you want to continue with it?
Oh yeah. I don't want to ever stop photography, but I also want to drive more. So I'm working on trying to find ways to do both. It's hopefully going to get there as soon as I have a minor height issue with my Miata with the stock seats. I'm over the roll bar.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh yes. So the winter project is to I have another set of seats, and we're going to do the foamectomy to get started. Try to get down below the red. Yeah.
Do you
That's
share
cheaper
the car?
than lowering the floor.
Yes, and as I found out, one of the cool things about being in the paddock is you learn a lot of things. That to do the floor drop, you have to cut out the catalytic converter, which would make it not street legal in New Jersey. And it because it's our weekend fun car as well, it has to remain street legal.
Ah.
Does it? Are there multiple drivers with multiple heights?
Negative. This just me.
So you could get rid of the sliders underneath and get you a couple more inches. Well, an inch.
Tried that.
Didn't not enough.
The shape, the bottom of the shape of the bottom of the seat is not flat, so I'd have to modify the seat.
Wow. Well, it can be part of your foamectomy.
Yes, that is like that's the last ditch resort, is to modify the seat. I will be track legal in this car by the end of next season.
Well, we've got one where a 6'8" gentleman it was designed for. So
oh wow,
it can be done. It's not a problem. I went in there and with the seat in the position for him, fixed mounted, I was looking level at the top of the steering wheel.
Oh wow.
And I'm like 6'1", so it's there's plenty of room if you choose to go there. So it's not too bad though. One of the advantages of being 5'7", like Miss Vicky, she can fit in anything.
Cool.
Good in between.
Yeah, but I do still also have friends that hey, you haven't been out on track. Here's the keys to my car, and we go out and make sure that we do it nice and safe. And I have a lot of instructor friends too. So
yeah.
It's been one of the nice boons of being a track photographer, is learning that one of the coolest things in motorsports is everybody wants you to do it. They're so willing to share it. It's such a cool vibe in the paddock.
For sure. I mean, that's the only reason we have a podcast. That's desperation to have people to play with, I guess. So speaking of, one of the reasons we do this is to get people out on the track. And we were wondering if you could look back and see what was something that was slowing you down from going to the track.
Probably the lack of the car and not knowing the clear path to get on the track. It wasn't until I became heavily involved with, NASA, Hooked on Driving, Jeff Palooza, all the places I shot for, and the ones I'm picking up now, showing you the path to get there. Because if you just roll up unless you get into the culture, it's I couldn't figure out how to get there.
Yeah. Yep. Same for us. That and kids and money. But
yes, money. Well, that was the other thing was, okay, growing up, you see racing on TV and you hear about how much money it takes. And then, you go out to the paddock and to the track and you see people in regular street cars. And it's like, there's got to be something I'm missing here. What part am I missing? So, having friends that actually taught me how to get on track is what broke that barrier down.
Indeed. And since you broke it down and you do your photography, we thought we'd talk a little bit about WindShadows and how you guys are doing what you're doing and some of the tips and tricks. So if you're willing to give away not all the secrets, but maybe one, maybe two.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
So how did you get into photography? Was it a NJMP brought it upon you, or something you brought to NJMP?
So I always enjoyed taking pictures, and I won't call it photography. I'll call it taking pictures. I was the guy with the camera everywhere. I went to school for journalism. I was the only person in the class who had a camera of any type. So instantly, you're the newspaper photographer. And then since I was working my way through college, I got a job in a camera store.
Oh, nice.
And that was long before NJP wasn't even in the planning stages. So I got into photography through work, discovered I enjoyed it, but it was always one of those, much like we do with our driving. How do you get better? How do you learn? What do you do? And then you find a form of photography that you enjoy. And I kept trying different things, and it was a long and drawn out process as I learned to find something. And then there was the magic day of, I'll still remember, it was September 9th, 2009, standing in the chicane going, oh my God, this is what I want to photograph.
That's as you're discussing about photography, it is the same thing for me when you were discussing getting into racing. It is so hard to unravel photography that it's so discouraging every time I pick up a camera that I'm looking at it going, I don't even know how to work this. I don't know where to go. I don't know. Even as I'm reading things, it makes no sense.
Right. It's almost to the point where there's too much information out there because there's so much, you don't know where to start.
Yes, exactly.
I do. You put every single thing that says AUTO, put that on.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong.
And that's the only way I can even get a click. Never mind.
That is how you get started. I will tell you, the biggest thing you can learn how to do in photography is composition. Everything else comes after that.
Oh, I don't have a problem with composition.
Right. But if the camera settings get in the way of your composition.
Yes.
Right. So and again, there's a lot of parallels between racing and photography. We talk in racing about seat time.
Mm-hmm.
Go out and just take a whole bunch of photos. And then talk to other, like your download sessions, talk to other shooters, talk to other drivers. It's very similar.
You know what would probably work better, Vic?
What?
When you take your camera to the track with us.
Yeah.
If you were to take it out of the trailer.
Well, see, the problem is that we're very busy at the track. So it's very difficult to manage what you're doing. And, you also have your downtime and then grab a camera and then run off and go do stuff when you had to be somewhere else at the same time. So it is difficult to do both.
It is.
But I do make the attempt. So you started this for a while, and did you study photography in college, you said? Oh, just journalism in college.
Yeah, just journalism. I didn't study I can't say that I studied photography. I learned how to do the photography that the school newspaper needed, the college newspaper. And then I joined a photo club for a while. I learned my father was a photographer, is a photographer still. And his stuff is light years beyond what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But the club, one of the members of the club used to work at NJMP, so he kind of gave me some pointers here and there, and I went out and I did it. I with the camera store, I taught photography for 15 years.
Really?
So that training helped me learn more about my own photography. So it was a very organic and self-taught. I went to the school of photography hard knocks.
Right.
And then Photoshop came along and just completely blew my mind.
So wait a minute. You went to school for journalism,
and
you got shoved in the corner with the camera. I mean, not to mention, and then you end up just you didn't even have to go to school at this point.
No.
You could have just followed photography.
Exactly. And I never used the journalism degree either.
So how long have you been doing this now? For how many years?
I've been a motorsports photographer. The first time I shot motorsports was 2008, but it actually really got started in earnest in September of 2009.
Right.
And that was I was a volunteer photographer with NJMP, so I was just covering their spectator events, like the big stuff when, Grand Am would come in, AMA, which is now Moto America, ARCA, and just the big events. And then I was there for a driver's club day, and I met a guy who's like, I'm doing this track day. I'm testing in a Porsche. Could you come follow me? Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And then I spent the entire track day lusting after the Audi R8.
Right. I see that.
Right there.
Right behind you on the wall.
That's a lot of pictures to get one of those.
Yeah, I don't think I'm getting an Audi R8 anytime soon. I'll stick to the Miata.
Me too.
What camera are you using right now?
I shoot with Canon EOS gear. I have a couple of, if you want actual model numbers, I have the 5D Mark III. I have two of those, and I have a 1DX Mark II, Mark III. The last one that they're ever going to make in that line. So I started with Canon film cameras. I jumped into consumer level EOS 50D.
Oh wow!
And I just accumulated gear and lenses. I would rent gear. I would, borrow gear until it finally got to a point. The whole point was to make this a self-sustaining hobby. It was not. I didn't plan to get to where I am. It just kind of happened. I just needed to be able to afford another lens, afford another camera body, but mostly I wanted a reason to be at the racetrack. It was where I was finally happy. So I didn't think I could afford a track car. But all these people I were meeting, a couple of the people you've just had on, yourselves, the people I was meeting were people I wanted to be around, and I needed a reason to be there.
Yeah.
Right.
So I just started taking pictures, and then I was at that track day with the gentleman with the Porsche, and the organizer of the track day is like, "You do this?" I was like, "No." He's, "Can you do this?" Okay. So that was Povolito track days with Joey G, and I became their photographer, and I met the Limitless Racing team with Ella Von Goulart and Dr. Lee, and they wanted me to come follow a test day, and just slowly I started doing. I started with Povolito days. I met my good friend Dave. He got me into another set of track days, Jeffapalooza, and then I started to shoot with the SCCA. Shot with them for a while. And then I fell into NASA and Hooked on Driving and Mo
Mhm.
Days and SCDA, and it
They
went
are
from
all
there.
very local to you.
They are, and I love them all.
Yeah.
It's about the people. It really. I've met famous people. I've met some not so famous people. But I can't say that I have not liked anyone I've met.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very convenient to have a racetrack in your area.
Literally my backyard.
So get out of here.
I'm
So
I'm
jealous.
15 minutes from NJMP.
Oh,
that helps a lot.
It does help a lot.
So
it
bad
does
for us. So good
yeah,
and bad.
it
could be expensive if we were there.
It's my summer.
Yeah.
And I love it.
All right.
You're in a really, really good location. You really are.
So I have to cover one thing in case we have a new listener. You were concerned about the cost of your car. I'm concerned about the cost of this episode on my camera budget, but that's fine. But you can get a race car, a car for the track, for very little money. You can obviously spend as much as you want, because there are people who will come up with a way for you to dispose of whatever income you're willing to. But it's not as bad as everybody thinks.
Right.
It doesn't have to be.
Nope. Does not have to be.
Your R8 in the picture behind you, different story, but
yeah,
you can do it for, somewhat reasonable. I mean, pre-COVID, very reasonable.
Yeah.
So just making sure. I had to go back. All right. That's about the only value I have on this one.
So
go ahead, sir.
You're ahead.
I was gonna I didn't mean to interrupt you guys.
She's called Bulldozer for a reason.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh yeah. So with the cameras, so right now you use a Canon. I think I have a Canon also.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Bill's not going to like it, but that's a good thing.
Yeah. I also have Yeah, no, I actually have some really good stuff.
Good.
But right now what we're seeing is cameras with videos. Are they worth it?
You can't really get away from it anymore. Most cameras, even my, pro level 1DX does video. Mm-hmm. And the video, it turns out, is very good. So yeah, it wouldn't, if a camera had video, I wouldn't worry about it. I don't worry about it at all. I focus on just the features that I'm going to use. How fast is the autofocus? How fast is the burst? And how low of a light can it see in?
Oh, okay. So what are some of the basic lenses? Oh, wait a minute. Are you one of those guys that have like the harnesses? You have like not a harness, but
he's got lens envy when people see him walking by. Yeah.
What are they? They are the same thing where you put your guns in.
Oh, a holster.
A holsters, yes.
Yes.
Do you have holsters?
I do have a holster.
I
do have a holster that can hold up to 2 cameras.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And I imagine that's because of lenses.
It's because the stuff is heavy and it doesn't hurt my back to have it on my hips instead of hanging from my shoulders.
Right.
So it's called a spider holster. There's many different brands out there, but that's the one I chose. And I will walk around with up to 3 cameras at any one time. Because I hate changing lenses.
Right. And that's what I was thinking. They probably have that because each camera has a specific lens that you don't have.
You're correct.
See, I knew that. So anyway, what lenses would you say, like if you're at the track?
So if you're at the track and you want to do trackside photography, like what I do, because I do the trackside, and my wife, who we've conveniently nicknamed Wife Shadow, she's the one you'll see one.
It's a Wife Shadow.
Wife Shadow.
Now she's going to listen to this podcast just for that.
Yes, she should. So if you're doing the track side, like I'm doing, it depends on the track, but you want to have, like I have a 70 to 200, and then I have my 200 to 400, and I have a teleconverter for that. Mm-hmm. So I've got my bases covered from 70 millimeters out to approximately 600 millimeters.
Mm-hmm. That's the big mumbo jumbo one, right?
Yeah, it has its own suitcase.
Right.
Yeah, that's guilty as charged. So I look at the focal length first to make sure that I have enough magnification. Like going to, we'll say Lime Rock. I don't need as big a lens for some of the locations I go to because the Armco is literally right next to the track. Same with
Right.
Watkins Glen. NJMP, we have so much runoff because it's a newer track, more modern. I need longer lenses to bring the cars in closer.
Right.
So I look at that first, and then I look at all the other specs of the lens to make sure it's, going to give me crisp pictures. What kind of glasses it got? What's the f-stop? Those are all secondary to the magnification in my world. For my wife, she has she just got a 15-35 super wide angle. So she does her epic race car hero photos. So she's going to have to look for you guys.
I mean, she managed to make me look like a race driver, so she's doing a great job.
Okay, so she did get you. I got to make sure. But yeah,
I mean,
she
she wasn't
uses that
working with
wide
much.
angle. Yeah, she uses that wide angle to make everything look just so much bigger, and because she can put it right up in your face and see your face and the rest of the car at the same time. So she likes that one, and then she has a 28-300 because she also hates switching lenses. So she can wander around and just get whatever she needs. If she's far away, she can still bring it in. So, I mean, you can go down a really, really deep rabbit hole with lenses. And really, if I was to give anybody advice on what to buy, it is to invest in the lenses. Because that's what's really going to make your job easier and give you more versatility. But those are an investment. They go from camera to camera to camera to camera. I have a lens that's about as old as I bought it in 2008.
Wow.
So
and I still use it.
So speaking as the person who wouldn't understand the Photography for Dummies book, are all the lenses now compatible with autofocus?
Yes, for the most part, except for some specialized cinema lenses for the video end. Almost any lens you can buy for either the EOS system, the Nikon system, the Sony system, they're all autofocus lenses with some minor things here and there that are not.
Awesome. I got a chance.
I honestly think when we got married in 1998, I think that was when the transition to digital cameras started happening.
It is. I worked in the camera store through that transition. That
was crazy.
It was a wild time.
I know that people are like, what do you mean digital? That it goes into how do we see the photos? We don't get negatives. We do.
All of the above. All of the above. I remember the first time I saw a digital camera, I told the guy, he had taken a picture. It was the guy when I worked next to the camera store. It was a big storm, and he had gone out and taken a picture of the rainbow afterwards on the little Casio QV10. Like one of the first consumer digital cameras. And he knocks on my door. He says, take a look at this. And he shows it to me on the back of the camera. I said, that's great. I'd love a print of it. He goes, you can't print it out. There's not enough resolution. I said, this will never catch on.
Right. And I think that when we got our wedding stuff, I was like, this technology is way too new.
Yes.
It's like a brand new computer that, it might end up being like Pong.
Exactly.
for our wedding photos. So
yeah.
I remember spending for your first Christmas as my beautiful bride, $200 on, I believe it was 2 gigabytes memory stick. Might have been one.
Yeah.
It might have been
one.
I
remember those days.
But
remember those days.
Weren't there like Koken lenses? They were tinted lenses that they had to.
Koken's been around forever.
I know, but
even the days of film.
Yeah, they used to have something that used to fit on front of the lens.
Yep,
and
it was a bracket.
Right, and because
it had square filters.
Exactly, I had those.
So did I. When I was doing landscapes, they're like, you need this for landscapes.
I know.
I used it twice.
Right.
I never used it again.
Because Bill, what they used to do is they used to have
I
like
know.
on top of the top of the lens used to be like a blue tint, and the bottom of the lens used to be like a green tint. So you would line up your camera with this stuff so you can get the best picture before they had digital photography where you can manipulate the pictures like Photoshop. This was their Photoshop.
Yep.
Oh,
All of the
badass.
above.
Yeah, but polarized lenses, obviously we use those still, right? I mean,
Yes.
that's kind of a
that's
must.
that's my secret weapon. That's
Okay.
so you need that. And one of the things that when I first got started, I would get really frustrated because I'd look and I'd have this beautiful picture of a car, but it's just a picture of a car.
Right.
And then so I, remembered my days of selling these things. Well, polarized lenses take out glare and reflections.
Right.
So I screwed that on the front and I twisted it. And now I could see into the car and I could see the driver's head and face.
Nice.
And
Nice.
that's like totally now my thing. Like I want to see the driver inside the car. I want to see the rider on the motorcycle. There's got to be a person. There's got to be something to connect the viewer to
Right.
the image.
Right. And tulips. Tulips just cut out the sun glare, right?
Those are called lens hoods. So
Okay.
you'll see there is a tulip type when you have a wider angle lens, but my longer lenses that's fully round.
Mm-hmm.
And that prevents the light from coming into the front of, so the lens is only designed to have light come in more or less straight. If it comes in at a weird angle, it'll bounce around inside the lens, and that'll cause glare
Oh.
and weirdness in your photo. So you screw those onto the front and kind of cast a shadow over the front of the
Mm-hmm.
lens. And it's just another way to make sure that you get really good color and not get that weird flare.
Mm-hmm.
Some people like the flare in their photos, some people don't. That's a decision you make as a photographer.
Right. Before we leave the actual camera section of all my questions, the phones have gotten really good.
Yes, they have.
Now, they will not replace at this point the actual camera, although they are lighter and everything like that. And did you see them take the
Oh,
actual take a hit to the camera industry?
Oh yes. Oh yeah. There's we went from film to digital. I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
It was a rocky, tumultuous world. And then the phones started coming up and the company I worked for was trying to figure out how do they stay viable because everybody now, you don't reach in and grab out a bunch of pics. You grab your phone. And we
Right.
couldn't print pictures from the phone at the time. We had
No.
to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
The phones are actually really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even take my cameras on vacation. If I get a
Mm-hmm.
vacation and I'm, like I walk the gorge trail, I take my phone with me,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets a beautiful image.
Right.
It won't reach out and grab the car coming through the bowl because it's like 1,000
Right.
feet away. But for everyday snapshots, and there are some
Landscaping.
landscaping, exactly. I mean, I can't knock it because there's some people out there that can do some really amazing images with a
Yeah.
phone.
Mm-hmm.
I think the secret is not really the gear as much as knowing how to manipulate it after the fact. You
Right.
get close in camera, fix it in
Mm-hmm.
pre, and then tune it with post processing.
Right.
And I've seen some amazing photos come out of phones. I can't
Yeah.
knock camera phones.
They had some really cool techniques like flipping the camera upside down
Mm-hmm.
to get a better shot, and then like maybe run a panoramic going up. So say for instance you're standing in front of a tall
Yeah.
building, and then I mean that was pretty easy. I actually downloaded Lightroom for it.
Yes.
I did on
Lightroom
my
is great.
camera.
Yeah.
And I found that as the apps that you're going to use on your phone, and you have to pay a premium price for it, that for your photography editing, holy cow. I mean, what a difference that makes in the photography. It even makes a crappy photo look really nice,
Yes, it can. Yeah.
So okay, so say for instance that we are beginners,
Mhm.
and we're buying our first camera, Mr. Photographer. What is a really great beginner setup?
Right now, again, it's another one of those transition times in photography. I don't know if you're familiar with the mirrorless cameras versus SLRs,
That's
but
later in the questions.
okay, well,
But we can do
We
do
can
it
start
now.
now.
I would say any camera that gives you to change lenses, you definitely have ability, because that's going to give you the most versatility.
Right.
So
Look at you, given like people who've never thought
Right here.
about picking up a big boy camera.
I'm right here. I'm right here. I can hear you.
I'm telling you, this is tricky stuff. This is stuff that's bothered me for like a really long time. It's been like my biggest hang up.
I did this every day in, day out for 20 years.
Yeah.
I had, students come in, kids come in, couples come in. What kind of camera do I get? So we would ask questions. What kind of photography do you want to do? Well, I want to take pictures of my son playing soccer. Okay, you need an SLR with a 300 millimeter lens. Okay.
Right.
If you're just getting started and you don't know where you're going to go, you get yourself a decent interchangeable lens camera with something like a 24 to 70 lens, and maybe a 70 to 200 if you want to spring and go big. And then start seeing what gets you excited. What are you excited to take a picture of, not just what do you think you should take a picture of.
Right.
Because the excitement level that motorsports brought me with photography was the secret to me wanting to actually keep doing it.
Now, and we're going to be revisiting that very shortly. We are. Okay. So on photo editing, and that probably goes for both camera and regular photography. What are great programs? Because there's a lot of them, and some of them are like really expensive. And
So I was kind of a software junkie for a while. I remember the first Apple Aperture and having that blow my mind. Two things about, I used, when I first got started, I started with Adobe's Lightroom and Photoshop in combination. They work together as a team. I tried a company called Phase One Capture One Pro. I did that for a while, which is a very, very nice program. I went back to Lightroom because there were some things coming along with Lightroom that I needed to handle the volume of photos I take.
There's a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the running joke is that, why does it take Mike a week to give us our photos? Because there's 30,000 of them from a weekend.
Oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, the NASA weekends, I can easily come home with 30,000 photos to sift through.
You have
get rid of all the bad ones. And there's
no
a lot
books.
Of bad
you
ones.
Just have those external storage units, right?
Yes, I have
like
I have
books.
two external hard drive boxes with
we used to call them
multiple drives and stuff. Yeah, that's a good term for them. I like that.
So just imagine 30,000 pictures on film.
I have, and it's a scary, scary proposition.
Oh my gosh, you need like a whole section of your house.
A van.
I am guilty of the technique of spray and pray, but that's kind of a necessity based on what we all love to do. I'm panning with a car. I'm not just going to try to take one shot. I want to get the whole sequence. And with racing, sometimes that whole sequence is really important. You're getting the car passing, you watch the guy setting up, the guy all of a sudden locks his brakes up. Well, if I'm just trying to guess that's going to happen, how am I going to know you're going to lock your brakes up?
Oh my gosh. And I can't imagine too. It's just the storage of it. And I'm not saying storage like it's an outboard, but the organization that you have to maintain.
Yes.
For it, and categorize it and remember where it's at and see if it's worth it or not. And then next thing you know, you have like bricks of these things, like photo hoarding.
Yeah. There are features on the camera to help with that. So, let's take, Hooked on Driving or NASA, because they're my big ones. And they're nice because they have run groups. So as I shoot, I make a folder on my memory card with the camera.
Okay.
And then when the next run group comes out, I make a new folder. And then the next run group comes out, I make a new folder. And then when I get back to the computer, I say, well, this is time stamped. The first group I did was DE3, because usually that's
Okay.
the next one was DE4, and
Mm-hmm.
then Thunder Practice. They're already organized into those folders for me.
That's
And then
good.
I bring them into Lightroom and I just go dud, 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 dud. Oh, that one's good. Dud, 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 good, good, dud. And just
Right.
plow through them and then get rid of the duds. And now I'm left with like my first run.
Right.
And then you go in from there. Okay, well, this one is a little bit sharper, but that one, the car angle's a little bit better. And then that's the not fun parts, like picking your favorite kid.
Right. Right. And you have to be pretty brutal, I'm imagining, just so you can
You do, because nobody
delete.
wants to go through 1,000 photos to find 6 pictures of their car.
No. No,
No.
I can
I don't want to go through 1,000 photos that I have on my phone trying to find
Oh
anything.
my gosh.
Right.
I know. Yeah, I can
All right.
imagine. You just might have at that point just fix yourself a cocktail and just go for it.
All right,
Oh,
just to
yes.
prove
It's gonna be a long night.
Yeah.
just to prove that I'm still participating in this,
Mhm.
let's skip right to the end. How do I get the cool car in focus, the rest of it blurred due to my amazing speed?
My secret weapon, I can make a Miata look fast.
I know. I was going
That
to
is-
say earlier that you owe us a lot, because if you're doing the pan and scan thing, we go slow enough that you don't get tired. So I just want to thank you for that. But it's fine.
But that actually makes it harder.
Well, I just figured you give me more shots at getting something out of our car.
Well, I get more chances, but so that's called panning. And the secret is to know how to operate your shutter speed. The shutter speed is a length of time, right? So if you cover more distance during the length of time my shutter's open, I get more streak in the background.
Ooh.
And then you just practice going slow and going slower and going. So I'll start, your first couple laps that I'm panning, I'll start at maybe a 60th of a second. And then I'll drop down to a 45th. And then I'll down to a 30th. And then it gets to be really hard anything below that.
Oh, that's fascinating.
But the slower the shutter speed, the faster you as the driver will look.
I think we need some slow shutter speeds then. Slow, really slow. You get on that.
Say for instance, again, this person is going out and buying their camera setup, because hey, they're interested, like my daughter being 15 and 16-ish is interested in photography, but again, she picked up the camera, was like, oh my God, I have no idea. We got the beginning, we got like the basic lens, but say for instance that she wants to go out and borrow one of the cameras. What is a good basic? Are there any other equipment pieces that they need, like tripod sticks or whatever?
It does depend on what kind of photography you want to do. Like when I get out the big mammoth lens, I've got a monopod. I'm not going to try to handhold that. The basics: body, lens, memory cards, battery. Get out and shoot. Get started. Get whatever you have, get out there and shoot, figure out what your camera can do, what you can do. And then it's just like learning to drive, figure out, do you know someone who does this already? Talk to them. You'd be surprised. A lot of us just love what we do enough to share it. I've taken people out and, hey, let's learn how to pan. Let's learn what, I told someone who couldn't, they were not old enough to get a vest and go out on the side. You want to practice panning, you live by a highway. It's a little creepy, but they went out and they took a long lens and they tried doing it with traffic, and then they figured out where they could stand at the racetrack to do it even more. But having a good zoom lens that gives you a multitude of focal lengths to choose from, an okay body. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy. You just need that starting point. They joke, you should start with a Miata. You should start with any camera that'll let you change a lens, is my opinion. And this is all opinion, because every photographer will tell you something different because they'll speak from their own experience.
Sure. It's like when you go to the track, what's the best car to have? Well, they just happen to turn around and
Yes.
point to their car. It's like this
Whatever
one,
they're
obviously.
driving today.
Exactly.
You know, I am a big fan of Sony, Nikon, Canon. They're interchangeable lenses. The mirrorless is it's a good benefit. I shot with my first mirrorless this past year at the Glen.
And what made it much nicer than the other cameras?
So with a mirrorless, let me back. An SLR, you're looking through an eyepiece that's reflecting light through either mirrors or a prism, and then through another mirror, and you're looking through the lens. And it's all optics, so you're looking directly through the lens. With a mirrorless, mirrorless takes all of that stuff out, and you're looking at a screen that's showing you what the camera is seeing on the sensor that makes the image.
Okay.
So when you get into the more advanced stuff where you need to either over or under expose, you can see it before you press the button.
Wow.
There goes my wallet.
You get.
I'm sorry, Bill.
No, I think mine is mirrorless.
Do you know? Do you know what model camera do you have?
It's not.
It's not.
No, it was right when they were transitioning.
It was.
Okay.
I didn't know.
I think it's a Canon.
Just go get it.
D500 series.
Oh, that sounds like a Nikon.
It could be a Nikon.
I think it's a Nikon because I think I bought Nikon.
And the Nikon lenses are amazing. I lust after Nikon lenses.
Mm-hmm. He's going to go check it. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. So no, I remember a D500 Nikon. They're nice cameras. But no, that was not mirrorless. Especially you've got that slapping noise that's so iconic. The mirrorless gives you the ability to see exposure, and that's kind of a game changer, especially for the motorsports, because you get, let's say, a white car. They tend to make cameras underexposed, so you need to push it up a little bit.
Right.
Black cars tend to brighten up because the camera's always trying to make it look gray. And then you have to, as a photographer, know, okay, well, there's a big old black car there. I gotta pull it back a little bit. With the mirrorless, I can see that before I push the button instead of after.
Right.
So and you get all your information, like you can see, you can see your ISO and shutter speed. You can see that on most digital SLRs, but you get all of the information. And there's some other new technologies that are coming out that are just changing everything about action photography.
Really?
Canon cameras, the newer Canon cameras can actually...
Captain's log supplemental.
So, Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when we were watching those WRL events and some of those grid life events where you used to see the in-car video and it had like the cameras seeing front and back, but it also could see all the telemetry and everything that was going on? Most of the ones that we liked were taken by the Sentinel system. Remember James came on our podcast earlier?
Right.
We have no excuse since he lent us one for trial and demonstration purposes. We should actually probably put that in one of our cars. Maybe two.
I really think we should.
I think we should.
I know.
Because then we'd look like the immature endurance racing team that we are. Oh, wait, I mispronounced that, didn't I? Sorry, my bad. We could
so what does the Sentinel system do?
We could have 3 cameras with picture-in-picture. We could have, if we ever get the AIM system to work, open invitation to anybody from AIM to come on and give us a little bit of love. We need some help. And then we could have all our telemetry on there. And then we can have it streamed live into the paddock or around the world to our millions of fans. We're apparently very popular in Kenya right now. Don't know why, but that's fine. And it can integrate all the available race statistics from like Race Hero and everything. So we could actually see how we're doing on video. We wouldn't even have to carry around our phone anymore. Live.
I love it.
You can tell it, focus on a car. It knows what a car looks like and will focus on a car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was kind of it, when I first, because I rented this equipment And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge proponent of renting gear before you buy it.
Mm-hmm.
So it could focus on a person, a car. It was like Top Gun trying to line up and get the lock on. There's all these squares and circles and stuff floating around, and then all of a sudden it just all came together.
It was a
Oh,
Nikon.
yeah. Oh, you must have been a really good wife that year. That's a nice camera, yeah.
Yeah, I got the big telephoto lens too to go with.
That's a good thing. Now we just
Yeah.
need to get you out to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like again, it's like it's you sitting behind the wheel for the first
Mm-hmm.
time and trying to
Oh
break down the
God.
lingo and trying to figure out the entryway
Oh.
into this. Like I'm naturally a creative. So like I understand composition. I understand the artsy stuff of everything.
Well, that's
It's just equipment. It's like I'm
the
techno
gear. Yeah.
Amish.
The gear is intimidating because of all the buttons.
Yes.
And, when I worked at the camera shop, people would come in like, I read the manual. Well, why did you do that? It's not going to teach you how to use the camera.
Right.
The manual is like an encyclopedia. You look up, I want to freeze action. I want to do this. How do I do that? Trying to read the manual is like, and it's written by a technician for another, so it's really dense and hard to get by.
Right.
Just-
Well, what I did end up getting, and this is another which I thought was kind of clever for beginners, was that they have like these little laminated sheets.
Quick,
They're like
yes,
cheat sheets,
sheets.
cliff notes for your camera. So you can just kind of go and go, okay, let me go try this.
I've had it.
Yes, I have that in my bag also. And I did make a great attempt about bringing the camera out, and I did have a monopod for it. But then again, it started getting in the way of the areas of working on the car.
Right. Yes.
Because
yeah.
if the car's running, I have time.
Yeah, that's why I don't get much seat time in the race cars, because I'm shooting. My primary responsibility for most of these organizations is because not only am I providing, the souvenir photos to the participants, I'm providing those to the organizers for advertising. So they constantly want new and fresh photos. So I've got to make sure that I got the event covered for them. That's why, I now have a second shooter in the paddock. They wanted more people shots. Well, I'm out on a corner. If there's somebody in front of my lens, we got problems.
Right.
So, and a lot of the participants said they wanted more pictures of them, getting suited up, and grid is, I love shooting grid. Unfortunately, I don't get to do it much. Grid is amazing. It's one of the most high energy, like that anticipation before the race. I love, like the Honda Challenge guys are all going around fist bumping each other, and the Specky 30 guys are chilling next to their BMWs. It's and I've been on grid for ARCA. I've been on grid for Formula 4 and SCCA. Grand Am. Moto America is always one of my favorite grids. Just that whole energy that surrounds motorsports, it's infectious.
You know what? And that is like, even if you're not racing, you feel that energy. You get pumped up. You get charged at it. And we were speaking a little bit off pod about this and how you started out with landscaping and wildlife, and you just weren't energized by that. But that's a lot of sitting. And waiting for something exciting to come to you.
There's an art to it. That's the land, and I've met some fabulous landscape photographers. My father's doing light painting and still lifes, which is,
I've seen light painting.
Yes, I'll have to send you his website, because he's been doing that, and he's been teaching that, and it's just he makes it look effortless in the image, and I know there's a ton of work in it. And I sit there, my jaw hits the floor, how good these photos are. But I'm like all thumbs. It's like I can't quite get to it. I get out on the racetrack, and it's like, yes, I'm, I want, if you see in the picture what I'm feeling when I shoot it, mission accomplished. Because I get excited, I want you to get excited.
Right.
All the gear, all the technique, all the composition, everything, all that goes by the wayside as long as I can make someone excited about, yes, I'm doing warp 9 down the back curve at Lightning. It's one of my favorite places to pan because I can make you look like you're doing warp 9, even if you were only doing 70 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And if they look at it and go, I was doing warp 9, man, I was race car hero, then I'm happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, definitely that between you and your father, there's different ends of the spectrum of photography. When one, it just feels like you're feeding off of energy, and hype, and I think your dad is calm and imagery. If that makes any sense. It's more like a sculpting of the photo.
Yeah,
and I think yours.
Yeah, he's definitely down. He's setting everything up like a still life. It is a still life.
That's art.
It's a lot more of an art than what I'm doing. And I am envious that he can do it
mm-hmm.
because I get down there and I just don't see it.
Right.
It escapes me.
You see it on the track. You know exactly what you want to see on the track. So that's
I want to see you. I want to see you clobbering that apex and the car just throwing some sand
mm-hmm.
out or something.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's what I enjoy. It's what I love about motorsports. I want to capture that.
Yeah. I know that light painting is a new thing that's coming down the pike because I've only seen it just like a handful of times and it's gorgeous.
It's a technique that's been around for a long time, but digital has made it a lot more accessible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like it came out of the clubs.
Yeah.
With all the strobe lights and stuff. But
yeah, digital has definitely made that a lot more accessible because it's lowered the I mean, it used to be, you had one shot on film and all that was done in one take.
Mm-hmm.
With digital now, it's literally, I have this object, and they do it with cars too. I've seen it done with cars. I want to learn it because I want to do more like car parked somewhere, make it like a glamour shot. I hate to use the term, but the hero shot of the car. But I want to do it with the race cars that we have, not the exotics, not the Formula One cars and the prototypes. I want to do it with like a end of the season, been rode hard, put away wet Honda Challenge car or Spec Miata.
You're a sports photographer. That could be translated into anything.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, if you want to see car parts strewn around just come by our paddock anytime. It's usually that way. So
there's something really cool about trying to catch that almost industrial look.
Yes.
And then black and white it out and then put that on the wall, which is a fabulous.
Yeah. For a while, I was fascinated by gears and levers and machinery. And I tried real hard to get into that. And I was like, well, it looks cool, but I'm not excited when I look at it.
It's almost like steampunk a little bit.
Yes, very much.
Mm-hmm. It was very good. Go ahead, Bill.
Beginner guy back.
Yeah.
Hello.
It's an arty thing. It's an artsy thing.
I know. That's why I said I'm just here to look pretty this time. But so pretend I'm semi-beginner, maybe intermediate, but I'm trying to do this on a budget. Where should I look to buy or sell my equipment? Like, is used like verboten or is
no? The most expensive lens I own, I bought used.
Ooh.
And it's a fabulous lens. I hesitated because the price tag was so high. When I looked at it new, like I got sticker shock. I went to a trade show and I wanted to look at it thinking it was one price, and then the guy is like, "No, it's this price," and it was double what I expected.
It's like a very cheap Lemons car. It's about the price of it.
So might not be a cheap Lemons car. Might be a full-fledged Lemons car.
I mean, if you're looking for specific places, there's only a few places I go to. Like the corner photography store is very rare anymore. But if you have one, start there.
Okay.
Because that's where you're going to get to actually lay your hands on a camera. Make
Mhm.
sure that it fits. Make sure the lens does what you need it to do. Myself, I shop a lot at B&H in New York.
Mhm.
We
I
make
do. Hey.
yes, I make a yearly pilgrimage, and in fact, when it came time to finally bring my wife Kim into this whole insanity that is WindShadow, we went to B&H so that she could try the mirrorless and make sure that it was right for her. Um, I've bought used from B&H. That's where I bought my 200 to 400 lens. I bought used from a firm called KEH. Both of which, if you want to trade in, will do so. I've also
Okay.
purchased from Adorama. Those are like my top recommends, but anywhere where you can actually talk to a person is also really, really important.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, because
So
that's one thing that kind of hangs up some people is that they end up collecting old tech and they don't know what to do with it. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
bad tech. It's just that it's not great tech now. You don't know what to
I-
do with it. You
Right.
don't want to throw it
I will
out.
tell you, yeah, I will tell you that camera bodies do not hold their value very well, but lenses do,
Oh,
especially if you take care of them.
right.
mm,
Very good. So let's talk about general composition. Even
Ah.
even when it comes to your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So how would your general compositions be laid out?
I rely heavily on the rule of thirds,
Mhm.
which is like the cornerstone of decent composition, where you imagine like a tic-tac-toe board in your
yeah, I
picture.
know this one.
Ah,
It's 1/3 steak, 1/3 Slurpee, and
Oh
one
God.
and 1/3 whatever you want. Right?
I can go with that. Yeah,
All right. Very good.
I
We're
do
good.
love a good steak.
Thank you for joining us
So
today.
so yeah, you know, the rule of thirds is like my big one. Making sure that nothing is unless the image calls for it, you want to try to avoid putting things in the dead center of the photo. So
Mhm.
if you look at a lot of my pans, you'll see the car is probably in like the lower right hand corner and moving to the left.
Mhm.
Or if they're moving to the right, it's the opposite corner. The car always has some place to go in the photo.
Mm.
I like to make sure that the cars. I've been trying to vary my compositions, but a lot of mine, the car is very dominant. It's like it's big and bold in the frame. It takes up a lot of the photo because that's what you guys want to see.
Mhm.
Unless it's racing, then I want to get a few more cars in the photo because then it looks like they're battling.
Mm.
But those are two really important ones. And then everything I do with my photography is like I want to take all the extraneous information out. You don't need to see, the light pole in the back. You want to see the car. So, try to avoid a lot of busyness in the background.
Mhm.
You can do that with gear, with using a fast lens with a big aperture. You can do that by making sure that you're in a spot on the track where there's not a lot of stuff in the background. Um, or just change the angle so that the car is more important than anything else.
So
Hmm.
I may be doing this wrong, but there's a logic. So let the newbie illustrate a potential way to do things, and you will be the dictation of whether or not I'm an idiot. So, composition wise, I am not artistic. I am closer to autistic than artistic by far. So, what I do is I know the rule of thirds, but I
Okay.
know I'm not good at it. Right. So, I zoom out just a little bit and I kind of put it where I think it might be. And then I zoom and move after I take the shot. How dumb am I?
Nah, you're not dumb.
Oh,
That's that's
look
that's
at that.
that's called cropping. There's a term for that.
I'm used to a
And
different. I'm used to a
and
different pronunciation when those letters
and
are used.
and the big secret is almost all of us do it because I can't always make sure that your car is where I need it to be.
Mm-hmm. I was cutting cars in
Sometimes,
half all the
yeah.
time, and I was just like, there's a
Well,
bumper back there. I need to have
yeah,
that.
I have actually had a person say I couldn't buy that photo because you cut off the bumper cover. And it was a really nice pan coming down the downhill at Lime Rock. But I missed it by that much. So yeah, so there is credence, and there is sometimes a good reason to do that.
All right, so I'm not lost. Okay.
No.
So, I have a quick question. What was that one photo that you took that was just so epic? Is that still a hash word? Epic.
Sure.
That just said, yeah, this is it. Do you remember the photo, or your one favorite photo that was like in the very beginning?
The one favorite from the very beginning would be the R8.
Oh, it was like, yeah, this is me.
That was the first true race car that I had full access to. And for that photo that's behind me, I had to climb on top of the guy's trailer to get it. It's actually the paddock at Lightning.
Oh,
and
wow.
when I got that photo, I was like, wow, I actually did this right. Because I was still finding my way, and like I wasn't sure I was doing it right. And then, I mean, there's been a lot of really cool photos. Most recently, I had a shot I did at Pocono where I was strapped in the back of a pickup truck.
Mhm.
We were going around Pocono at 80 miles an hour, and I've got two Mustang GT 500s and a Corvette C8 behind me. And just it came out. It's real, just, shots like my hard to pick your favorite photos. That's the thing I'm worst at, because I want to put them all up. I love a whole ton of them, but it's hard to pick my favorites.
Yeah. So do you have anyone who or any particular source that inspires you that you keep going back to?
There's a couple of really good photographers. I was at a trade show it must have been 2019, because we didn't have it in 2020, obviously, or it might have been, 2019. Larry Chen.
Oh, yeah.
He is, like, if I had to pick one photographer that I could be like, it would be him. Jamie Price is another just amazing photographer that I like to follow. I did just get a course in car photography from Easton Chang, who's really good. And there's some other photographers like that don't do motorsports. There's a gentleman, Blair Bunting. He does trains of all things, but
wow,
his images of trains make me feel like the pictures I take of race cars.
Do they drive you loco?
Oh, yeah. Stop. Bad joke. God.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, I imagine that it is like racing again.
Yeah.
Because you never stop learning, do you?
No. In fact, the hardest thing is to try to find something new to learn. I feel like I've photographed NJMP. I've stood on every single corner, on the inside, the outside, at turn in, at track out, at the apex, and I still want to learn. I want to find new angles. I want to find new ways to capture that place. I'm still learning. Watkins Glen, like, there's so many places to stand there. Lime Rock. In fact, I should have mentioned, one of my colleagues, Sean Pierce, I love his work. In fact, he had a shot late in the day at Lime Rock. You guys know Lime Rock, so you know the uphill. You know the uphill, and there's that short little chute between the uphill and West Bend. And late in the day, the sun comes through the trees. And if you get everything just right, he can do it, and he does it so well. The car is spotlit, so it's just this bright car, and everything else is this dark, and it's just like God is shining a light down on this one driver.
Wow.
And I chased that photo. I finally got one. I finally got one at Thunderbolt at the AER 14-hour race. I finally got it to happen and line up, and the first person I showed was Sean. And he's like, "You did it." But Sean's work at Lime Rock is amazing. He is a photographer for Lime Rock Park, and he and I chat. His work, and he does a lot of other work outside of motorsports. He has a studio and he does headshots and portraits, and I'm just like, I wish I had half of that talent in my motorsports.
Mm-hmm.
See that?
Wow. It's just amazing. It
Lime
is something.
Rock is such a tough place to get a pretty picture, though. I mean,
I know he has an unfair advantage. And it's funny because he had a shot on a billboard there. And I shot that location. I'm like, you're photobombing my pictures all the time with your picture on that billboard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the advantage that he has at Lime Rock too is that the elevation alone.
Yes,
you can get all over that. NJMP doesn't offer that too much. You really have to.
You have to work at the elevation at NJMP. Yes, you
have to create it.
It is a different type of NJMP is. I have to
flat.
focus
Just
more
say
on
it. It's flat.
Oh yeah, I have to, I love the place. It's where I got my start, and it's my happy place. I'm guilty of going out there just to go out there and just sit and hang out with the drivers club guys and take their pictures for no other reason than I need to practice. And I love going. I can go to the restaurant there for date night.
Yeah,
it's really good.
It's a fun little place.
It is one of my happiest places to be, but there is a distinct challenge with the lack of elevations. But I have found elevation out there and tried to use it. And there's even subtle elevation that if you know it's there and you know the angles that you're shooting, you can use it to make it look like a mountain.
Right.
Coming up out of the octopus on Thunderbolt, which the locals call the devil. The cars are going uphill. If you stand at the apex of that turn, you're down below the car and you can shoot up, and it makes it look like you're down at the bottom of a much larger hill. Because it's not an angle you're used to seeing of a car.
I do have to say though, New Jersey does have some really pretty sunsets.
Yes,
gorgeous,
we do get amazing sunsets.
Gorgeous skies in the evening and beautiful mornings at the crack of dawn.
So, speaking of, one of the questions that my beautiful bride skipped that I need to answer. Do you have any tips on how to use the weather in a good way for photography? Things like fog and rain and stuff.
I love shooting in the rain. I mean, I don't physically love it because I get soaked.
Yeah.
I don't pan as much in the rain because you want to see, when you slow that shutter speed down, the mist coming off of the cars tends to get a little indistinct and fuzzy. I actually go with a faster shutter speed so and I zoom in more and you can see the water coming off of the car. You can see rooster tails. Oh, everybody loves the rooster tail pictures, but you got to find on the track where they happen.
Right.
Puddles
aren't fast enough.
So, look for standing water on the track because when the cars hit that, it goes everywhere. Of course, as soon as I discover the standing water, they fixed all the drainage and now there's not as much standing water on the track. But you look for, rain, you look for the interaction of the car between the car and the weather. Cloudy days give you a lot more opportunities because when it's bright sun and there's no clouds in the sky, you have to pay more attention to which way the sun is shining. Light has a directionality, and you want to try to avoid shooting into the light if you're not versed in exposure and things of that nature. So you want to keep the light at your back. When the clouds come over, well, it's game on. You can go anywhere because there's the clouds soften the light. And now you don't have to worry about shadows as much.
I always refer to those days as great photography days because they give you the truest color.
They can. It's all a matter of seeing where the shadows go and making sure that you're getting exactly what you want out of the car, or whatever your subject is. Portrait photographers love, cloudy days because now there's no harsh shadows on the faces and things like that. So it's just a matter of paying attention. I like shooting in the rain. Cameras don't seem to enjoy it, so buy rain gear and protective gear for the camera. I have more raincoats for the camera than I do for myself. Should probably fix that.
So, your wife,
WindShadow.
so,
Like a 70s
did she start
detective
out as
show.
right? Did she start out as a photographer?
When we first met, she was taking photography in high school. And that's how we met. She came up to the camera shop I was working at to get some pictures done, and they were really actually pretty good. And it was those early days of digital, so it was a digital photography class. And I was like, well, your instructor's not really giving you all the information of what you can and can't do, and this and that. And we went for coffee one day, and that's how we met. She went into other creative pursuits and did other things and didn't shoot as much anymore. We didn't go on photo trips and things like that. But then she came out to the racetrack so the first time I got her to actually go to the racetrack and be at the racetrack, I had to sell the idea of going to a track day on our 5th wedding anniversary.
Wow. Well, you are brave. That's a good wife.
No, I again, the people you meet in the paddock are your friends.
I know.
My mechanic was a track day nut, and he said, well, where's the track day? I said, it's at Watkins Glen. He goes, what weekend? I gave him the weekend. He goes, they have a wine festival.
Nice.
And I looked it up, and it was the weekend before the track day.
Wow.
So we turned that into our vacation for our anniversary, and she came to the racetrack and she met the people, which again, the people are what suck you in.
Right. Always.
Sure.
And she started coming to the track and hanging out more, and she finally understood, because it was just like, the track is there, that's where my husband is, okay, whatever.
Right.
She came out to the track and started meeting the people. She met the Povolito and Joey G tribe, and my friend Dave and Rich and everybody there, and they all loved her, and she was cracking jokes and making people laugh, and she got it. So she started coming to other track day events. She came to a NASA day at Lime Rock, and she started volunteering in registration. And then, both Susan and Mona from NASA and Hooked on Driving were saying that they needed more paddock shots. And I'm like, what? I can't. I'm out on a corner. I got to figure, and now I got to budget this in. She's like, well, I'll do it. And I had a spare camera and I had a spare lens. So here you go. Have fun. And she came back with about 700 photos. I was like, okay. And I started going through them. I'm like, these are actually really good. We could do this. So she went from helping in registration, and she does still help in registration too, to her being the paddock photographer because everything we do about track day photography has become, we're telling the story of the track day. We're telling the story of the race, and what's happening on the track is only half the story. And she's got that personality, like literally she'll see you, Vicky, wrenching on the car. You could have your head under the hood and, whatever you're doing. She'll come up, what you doing?
Just start up a conversation.
Just sit there and start talking. She'll snag pictures while she's asking you, because she wants to learn about it too. She'd go up and people are twerking their lugs. What you doing?
Twerking their lugs.
She
twerk
knows
our lugs too.
but she knows that's what they're doing. She is well familiar with torquing of lugs and checking oil and checking tire pressures, like all the basic stuff we have to do at a track day. She's gotten a pretty good handle on, and she's got that personality for capturing people, and she has zero chill. I said it in a driver's meeting at Lime Rock once. I said, guys, this is my wife. She's taking pictures in the paddock, and she has no chill. She will shove that camera in your face. And she went to grid during the DE session and got her 14 millimeter lens out, and it was literally like off of the guy's nose. And the guy's like, he wasn't kidding, was he? She's like, nope. And she because she sees the angles that the lens can give her, and that makes everybody look larger than life.
Right.
But she's got the personality for it, and she was a creative to begin with.
Uh-huh.
So it's her new creative outlet is the photography.
And she's loving it, right?
She loves it. We, after the track day, the deal is that the first set of photos we go through are hers. And I usually go through and just get rid of the blurry ones, because even with autofocus, you get blurry pictures.
Yeah.
It happens. And then when it comes time for our second pass where we pick our favorites, I go through them and I give her. I started giving her pointers, and she doesn't need it now. It's like, what I like about this photo is now it's more, hey, I like the fact that you got this guy like angle grinding the frame of his car because it's bent now. You got sparks flying everywhere. Or you did something really cool with this guy. You framed him in the window and just he looks like a race car hero. So, and then, those are the first pictures that get done, and then I get to go through my photos, but we make sure we take care of the paddock photos because they've gotten very popular. People like to see them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
Very nice.
I'm not asking for your super secret special sauce, but for the non-vested people who want to take a picture of their significant other or their friend, and they're at NJMP, a couple places they should go, and at what time?
So at NJMP, specifically Thunderbolt. Let's take Thunderbolt.
Okay.
The sun tends to come up over the turn 4-5 direction, travels across the sky. Avoid high noon; it's just terrible, and then sets just over turn 1. And you want to try to keep that sun mostly at your back. And early in the morning, when the sun is low, and you get the golden hour, as we call it, that's a really good time. But unfortunately, those angles are a little hard to get to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're on the airport side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So early in the morning, you're prepping the car, getting everything ready. Later in the day, for fan-friendly places to shoot, turn 4 is great. Turn 4, you're nice and close. Fast right-hander just before the hard left.
Yep.
Is probably one of the best places for a fan to take pictures. If you're up for a little bit of a walk and you have a big lens, like say a 300 millimeter, just go over the bridge and to the left there. So the cars are coming up out of the octopus. They hit that little kink. That's a really good place.
By the stand,
the stands there. And if you get up in the bleachers, inside of turn 1 is good. Lightning. Lightning, the best place for a fan to get photos is the bleachers there before at turn 7. Because you get the cars coming and going. If you're up for a little bit of a drive and can get around to the bowl and have a big enough lens, you can get pictures coming out of the bowl without getting in trouble by going inside the fence. So those are probably the two. And the bowl is like one of the iconic places on Lightning. Everybody knows it. So you can get that sound wall in the background. It's really good.
Right.
You want to look for places that identify you as being at a racetrack. Curbing is a big one. Timing tower. Yeah. It all depends on how far you want to drive, and where you can stand, how big your lens is.
Is there any good way to use the tower?
I've been experimenting with it. If you're allowed up there and have the lens, you can look down at the main straight and get them just before they cross the start finish line. I have taken that picture. It's quick. You have to have pretty good have to have decent panning skills and a good motor drive, because you're not going to be able to you're going to take a lot of practice, I should say, to time it just right, because you don't see where start finish is until the car is there. So you want to get just before that.
See, I always take that one, or try to take that one, is a better way to put it. I always try to take that one from the condos.
Yes.
I got a different angle, but
Mhm.
the power, I'm sitting there should be something I can use with this, and I have no idea. So figure it out.
Yeah. Longer lenses. NJMP is the land of long lenses just because of how much runoff there is.
All right. I'm gonna invade your knowledge one last time. It's this hellhole, this barren desert, this awful place. I think they call it Climbers Rock or something. It's a track up there. I mean, it's tough to get a good angle. But is there any ones that you like for the non-vested?
I like, and this is, again, big lenses help. The the area around the bridge, there's some
Okay.
spots where you can get a good, from, because they have it sculpted real nice where you can be inside the paddock at the bridge and still see West Bend. The spectator hill, if you have a nice lens, can get you there. For spectators, I've walked from around the rim, so the viewing hill. You go to the top and you can walk all the way around that, and you can look down on the left hander, the right hander, no name, all the way around. You can walk all the way around to the uphill, and you're still close enough where you can pan.
Mm-hmm.
Sean would be better for telling you where the light goes with that, but
Sure.
Lime Rock's one of those places where there's trees, so you're on level with the car. You're not really into the sun as much, so you can find places, but those are probably good starting points. Cool. It depends on if you want to pan or if you want to get a head-on shot.
I don't know. I don't get any good ones, so I'd make up for it in volume, and then if I get a good one out of it, I call it good.
That's how we all get started. We can take you out one day and do a little coaching.
My technique involves press, click, 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 stop.
It's called spray and pray.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
So, WindShadow Studios
and Wife Shadow. By the way, I checked. Wife Shadow is available on Instagram at the point of recording. You've got about 2 weeks before it's going. It's gonna go.
So, what tracks do you visit?
So,
are you available at?
Obviously, NJMP is my home track.
Mm-hmm.
We do a date at Pocono with Hooked on Driving. It really follows more specific organizations. NASA Northeast, Hooked on Driving, Moe's Days, Jeffapalooza, Northeast Audi Club. There's probably some that I'm forgetting, and I have to apologize to them. But our tracks,
Track Night in America.
No, they have their own thing going.
Okay.
I did shoot for them once in the rain, but they didn't. They only did it once. They have some very specific guidelines that they want to follow, and I have no problem with that. But it is a lot more work. So I don't know how they choose who they shoot with. Like I said, my big one's NASA, Hooked on Driving, Mo, Jeffapalooza, Northeast Audi Club, and I've done some private hire stuff. I've done work with the Drivers Club at NJMP as well. But NJMP's being the home track, we do a date at Pocono with Hooked on Driving. We go to Lime Rock with Hooked and with NASA, and Watkins Glen, which all different tracks. The hardest one is Pocono because it's flat.
Yep.
And it's really hard to get a picture that says you're at Pocono unless you're shooting the high banks or somewhere where it says Pocono. Right. Otherwise, it's the infield. It's pavement in grass.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fun track because they let me, they let me get close and do things at my own risk, obviously.
Well, I will say, if you want to get areas where you can get the interaction of a car with standing water, Pocono is an excellent place to go.
Yes, the only time I shot Pocono in the rain was for ARCA, and since they were using the super speedway, they don't run in the rain.
No, I did, and it's Yeah. It was very,
Yeah?
very, very wet. Very wet. Miss Vicky.
Yes. I'm sorry, I had scrolled down a little bit. So if our audience wants to follow you and
yes.
track you down, hunt you down, sir.
On Instagram, go to Wife Shadow.
Wife Shadow.
No, we not yet. But that may change.
You have 2 weeks, buddy. I'm just telling you. Somebody's going
I after this probably. So we have WindShadow Studios is on Facebook, and we have WindShadow Studios on Instagram, and that is all the social media that my brain can handle. I am terrible at social media. The only win we've had so far is the meme competition that sprang up this past season on Facebook. And then, of course, windshadowstudios.net is the website where you can go see the photos, hopefully buy one, or at least drop a line, say, hey, I like the pictures. That's, that's pretty much the limit of our exposure. I'm sure I should have other things, but when I get to the track, I get like tunnel vision. So,
Yeah.
I keep forgetting to do the Instagram thing or the Facebook thing.
Now, do you book events at all?
Not really. I've done some for specific races. It with the calendar, because this is not my day job. So, the photography revolves around the day job because
Sure.
It's there are bills to pay, and I can either pay the bills or buy camera gear with the photography. So we chose to split that off, probably much like many people involved with motorsports. And then it revolves around, do I have that weekend free? I have booked a couple race events where people want me to follow them for the race event, and I keep that small and manageable. Like, I think the most I've ever done was 3 teams at one event, and that was a lot of walking.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we ever do it together, you'll have an easy time because our car's usually broken in the garage. So,
well, I mean, there is an event that I think I heard on your podcast that you would be doing, and I just saw the new calendar for NJMP, and they're coming back. And you have the cookie car.
We do have a cookie car. We will probably not be using the cookie car for that event, but we will be there.
I didn't think so. Yeah. So I did see that, and that was a fun event. That was the first of that event that I've done. So
that was so hot.
It was brutal.
It was brutal, wasn't
so
it?
brutal.
It was
and then I had to go do the food truck festival after that.
we did the food truck festival, but on the way we popped into the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, we jumped in the pool. We couldn't deal.
I didn't have that luxury because I literally walked while I drove from Grid Life over to the food truck festival and shot the food truck festival, and then I was like, I'm done. I don't
remember it being that hot at any race event in Jersey. That was a new one for me.
It's happened. I can remember the Grand Am event that I almost passed out at turn 6. That it was so hot, the Turner boys were cooking either burgers or chicken cutlets on the floorboards of the BMW. I heard that on the telecast afterwards. They were cooking on the floorboards of the car.
Oh my gosh! Now we ended up having these thing called cool towels, which were amazing.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, they were life-changing. Chrissy had handed them off to me, and
Chrissy of Chrissy's Mom's Cookies fame?
Of Chrissy's Mom's Cookies of Three Pedal Mafia. She went into her cooler, pulled this thing out, wrung it out, put it on, and it held the coldness for a really long time.
Yeah.
My mood changed almost instantly.
I actually, again, the people we meet in the paddock, I was gifted a cool shirt, and I have an inverter. I stick it in the Mini Cooper. I shoot my sessions, and then I get in and I cuddle up my little cloud of cold. Oh, it's
so nice.
So nice. Yes.
Life changing. Yes, we will be we'll be invading Grid Life at least twice this year with a couple different vehicles. None of them fast.
And none of them are working right now.
Yes, that's true.
But
that's a different story. We'll talk about that on a future podcast where Bill goes into panic mode. But
a little bit, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
So many cars, so many broken cars.
I know, but listen, we're also moving at the same time, which makes it.
Oh my!
I know, right through Christmas.
She didn't plan on that part of the slowdown, but that's okay.
We just got a house.
Papa Planner was planning on that part and freaking out. She's like, "Why? We've got plenty of time. Everything's great." I'm like, "No, we're so
no,
screwed.
It wasn't.
We're so screwed." Anyway,
we'll
enough about us. All right. Well, it was a pleasure meeting WindShadow.
I just feel like I just made a new friend, a new creative friend.
I think you have, and I think we should. I think we should continue, and maybe why don't you bring your camera to a NASA or Hooked on Driving event? Because I know that's where I've seen you guys, and maybe I can demystify some of them buttons.
That would be awesome. If I can get a little 101, I would even run around with you and help you out. Between.
we can make things happen. We know people.
You could get a vest.
Bring wife shadow, and we'll have we'll have frozen margarita pops.
When the track is cold. When the track is cold.
Yes.
When the track is cold.
Yeah, we can do that. She will be there. She will be at their NASA and the Hooked on Driving events and whatever else I can
love to meet
rope her into.
You've met her. I've got a picture that she took of you.
You see so many people at the paddock, but we will get a formal introduction.
That sounds great.
Definitely have her stop by your trailer, do a little one-on-one with maybe how to do people pictures.
I just like talking to creatives. I just love talking to creatives. It lights me up.
Anytime. I like I said, having people purchase the photos is nice, but hearing them say, "I love the photos. I got it," because Christmas is always fun for me because I'll get pictures of people like, I got a metal print and I got a metal print for Christmas of a picture you took of me at the Glen. Like, yay.
We are definitely going to have to do this because we now have in the new house, we have a podcast / race room. So we're putting our sim racer in there. I'm putting track maps on the walls and it would be great. We're going to put our memorabilia in there. It's going to be awesome.
That's going to be very cool.
Don't forget the pictures from WindShadow.
WindShadow.
That's right. All right. Well, that's our first ASMR episode.
I love it.
This is fun.
We will definitely have you come back on again because we can talk more about, photography at the track, getting people, out there and get your name out there also.
We can talk about how it was to instruct him at an event too.
There you go.
Good.
Of course. And anytime you can stop by our paddock. We have, we have a strong paddock game. So come by for your meals.
Definitely. We got to definitely make sure that we at least, I know I've waved at the drivers meetings, but it's definitely cool. Like I said, the reason we do this is the people in the paddock. The photography is amazing, but the people are even next level.
We always say race people are the best people.
They are.
Yeah, track fam. Fam.
Exactly. Right. So, in spite of my stalking you at nearly every driver's meeting that we've gone to with NASA Northeast, you still agreed to come on. So apparently he is a true racer. He makes horrible decisions and came on the podcast anyway. So thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So much.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Now, if we could only get a good picture to publicize this video, I don't know.
Oh boy, that's going to be so hard.
It's got to be somebody we can call.
We'll call Wife Shadow.
Wife Shadow to the rescue.
Well, hello there.
Hello, sir.
Ooh, you're fancy. You got the nice microphone.
No, it's like $60.
This whole thing was like $25.
Well, if you were on episode number 400 and something, you'd have a $70 microphone too. My beautiful bride is almost here. She is the photographer.
Cool.
She's the photographer of our skill set, so she will have the most pertinent questions. I will be faking it.
Well, I mean, that'll make two of us.
I understand. 100%. So for when I write up the episode notes, is WindShadow 2 words or 1 word?
1 word. But I capitalized the W and the S.
Okay, so it's 1 word, double cap. So I've seen it a bunch of different ways, and I was just like,
yeah.
Huh? I figured you would know, or you should.
Yeah, I separated all my decals just because they get too long. But usually when I write it as 1 word.
Okay. Well, I mean, we can't say a single word since our team is Garage Heroes in training. It just keeps going. Facebook just said, "Screw you. You got too many letters. I'm not even going to let you."
I will say your logo is rather catching to fit all those there. Oh, I like it. I saw it. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, that's because I saw Garage Heroes, and I had always joked about Race Car Hero, like the video game. Mm-hmm. And then I caught the in trainings. Oh, that's interesting.
Well, the whole thing was we like the superheroes and we like the comic book movies and stuff like that. So we kind of wanted to do that. And Vicky's like, why don't we do Garage Heroes? And I'm like, well, that's rather presumptuous since we have never raced on a track and we don't have any mechanical ability. It's not like we're bringing anything to the table. I'm like, how about in training? And then, she's like, okay. And then we realized that the acronym is GHIT. So,
it works. It's, and I have to ask because I've been actually listening to the podcast at work.
Oh, do we owe you money?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's trust me. It's a nice distraction. I was just listening to Jackie's episode.
Oh, Jackie's fun.
I love Jackie. I love her to death. But the intro, is that the guy from?
So the Monday episode is kind of like our main episode, and then the Tuesday is our Dominate with Dawson series, which is we talk to a good driver who knows what's going on. So on those for the past few weeks, we've been using Kevin Conroy from the Batman animated show.
Oh, really?
Like that's really him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I was listening to a Dominating with Dawson episode just recently, the one you had about Real Racers.
Oh, Real Racers?
Real
Racers. Yeah. Yeah, those people drive me batty. You ready for your photography lesson?
Sure.
Okay. So we're not going to take all of your tricks. We're going to approach it from kind of like what you do, how you do it, and then if somebody wants to get a better picture with their phone or whatever, any tips you could give.
I will follow your lead because I taught photography for a number of years, and then fell into motorsports photography.
This is going to be an expensive episode.
That's not bad idea, though. I mean, if you have to fall somewhere.
Yeah, I fell into motorsports photography because I was terrible at landscapes and wildlife. So yeah, whatever you guys want.
A little less exciting too.
It moves too slow.
Those mountains don't move quite as fast. It's tough to get the blur shot,
It's but I mean, you did hit it. I wasn't excited about wildlife. I wasn't excited about landscapes. I mean, I can appreciate a good landscape and I enjoy looking at it, but I wasn't excited enough to figure out how to make that come through in my photos. So, and then they opened NJMP and I went out to the Shelby Club convention, and that was like, I got to figure out how to get out here. And we figured it out. We went to a motorcycle race. And that was, yeah.
We're burning pod, Bill. We're burning pod. This is good stuff.
Don't worry. I'll get him. I'll bring him back.
Okay. I mean, you know,
It's good stuff.
I'm just worried about how many lenses I'm going to have to buy after this episode, but whatever. It's fine.
oh boy.
It's fine.
I used to when people asked me where my track car was, I pointed my camera bag.
Pretty much. It might be more expensive than some of our track cars.
Maybe.
Depends. We race lemons and we have lots of crappy cars, so it's fine. I understand. We know where we rank.
It's fun. You can get started with anything doing what I do.
Mm-hmm.
It really could. So